Welcome back to Pump with Purpose. This is Dr. Diana here, and I'm going to be joined live with Share the Drop. Share the Drop is another organization that I'm gonna let them tell all about what they do, but I'm going to be joined live to talk about informal milk sharing, informal breast milk sharing. So let me get them on now. Let me invite them in so we can get started. Sharing. So welcome as y'all are joining in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what you're doing. Let us know. You can drop any questions in if we have time at the end. We will definitely get to them. So I am so excited to be talking with Share the Drop. So definitely stick around. We have so much to unpack. If you are on the fence about needing milk or wanting to donate your milk and wanting to know a little bit about what they do over there at Share the Drop, feel free to tune in, and this will be saved on our platform as well. So hello, how are you? I have not officially met you either, so
Hi.
tell us a little bit about you and what you do. Let the community know who you are and what you're doing over there. Share the Drop.
Hi, my name is Kelly. I live in Charlottesville, Virginia, so we're just a couple hours away.
Yes.
I am a registered prenatal yoga teacher, a birth doula, a former mental health therapist, and a breast cancer survivor. And so all of that has happened in the last 17 years, and it has led me to create Share the Drop. So I owned a pre and postnatal yoga studio here in Charlottesville, Virginia for a decade. We closed during COVID, sadly. And it was during that time that I had left the world of mental health therapy and really wanted to spend my days focused on women and kind of how they navigate the change from not being a mother to, trying to get pregnant, keeping a baby, all of that stuff. But I was always approaching it with like a therapeutic hat on of not just like, how does her body feel when she's pregnant? How is she dealing with all these changes? But how is her life affected? Going back to work, relationships, all that kind of stuff. And so I was always listening to what my clients needed. And it was during this time that I had the studio for a decade, and 2 years into it, a lactation consultant came to me and said, "Hey, I want to run a lactation support group here." So we did every Friday, free to anyone in the community, and it was packed week after week. And the number one stress I heard moms talk about was how they feed babies, how we're told that it's the most natural thing you're going to do. It's the entire reason you have breasts. And then, it can be very difficult for a lot of reasons. And so I just kind of kept my ear on that. And then I'd have doula clients come to me and say, "Kelly, I have so much milk, I don't know what to do with." I would have random clients come in who I didn't know that well and say, "Hey, I really am struggling with my supply. I'm working with a lactation consultant. Nothing's really working. Can you help me get milk?" And so I was constantly sending them to very popular Facebook groups, well respected communities that get together online and talk about the milk they have or their needs and then share. But they came back over and over and over and said, "This process is so clunky.
Mm-hmm.
It takes so much time. When I do finally get to post, it's like people posting on top of each other, like ships passing in the night, basically."
Yeah.
And so I just kind of kept thinking about this and kept kind of like acting as a local milk broker, if you will. And then in 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and my community really came out and said, community of other survivors, and said, "Hey, what's going to happen when I have a baby, and how am I going to get milk?" And I just put it in the back of my head and said, "I will get you milk." Um, so I, at the time, I was thinking I should try this online dating stuff. I don't, I don't recommend it, but I one night I had just gotten home and I got an email from a client who said, "I'm moving across the country. My husband is not going to let me take this milk." The email right behind it was a woman who had just been diagnosed with breast cancer with her. She was pregnant with her fourth, and she said, I'm really going to need donor milk as soon as this baby's born." And I knew these women, and they lived a couple of miles away from each other. And so as I was emailing them to introduce them, my phone went off with a notification from Bumble. And there's this guy 10 miles away. And that was the light bulb moment where I thought, wait a second,
Oh,
we can do anything we want on our phones. We can meet people, and someone can come pick you up in their car and all this stuff. And so that's when it kind of started to grow in my head. And then we went through the pandemic, and I closed my business, and then we launched the very first version in the summer of 2022 when we had this huge infant formula shortage. So, Share the Drop is a web based app where any woman with excess breast milk can go on and create an account and be connected to any family in her neighborhood who needs milk.
what's the definition of neighborhood? Like, what's the mile radius of neighborhood?
Well, when either a donor or a recipient creates an account, they use their zip code.
Ah,
And so then it will just populate like this person is 7 miles away from you. You can set it as far as you want to go.
wow.
But I'm a big believer. I think that informal milk sharing or milk sharing in general should be part of this feeding an infant conversation. I am all about informed consent and letting people make their own decisions, but I think this should just be part of the conversation. If you can breastfeed, great. If it's working for you, if you have all the support, if you use formula, fantastic. If you can find it and it works for your child, you can afford it, that's fantastic. But I think that informal meeting someone in your community should also be part of the discussion.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And that's why I reached out to you, like when I learned about what you were doing. And so our missions align in different ways. Like I really don't care how people, what they decide to do with their milk, but I love the mission. And I knew it was gonna be a story. I didn't know it was gonna be that kind of story behind all that you're doing, because when we birth whatever it is, trauma produces purpose. Like that's been always, my standpoint. Like we're not out here doing what we're doing, trying to join communities together if we don't have you gotta love this, or it just so it doesn't feel like work every day. So tell us about the app. Told us a little bit about it, but like how does, you said they sign up, how does it work for someone that wants to be a recipient, like they want to receive the milk?
So anyone can create an account
Okay.
right on the website. It's sharethedrop.com. It's free to create an account. Both the donor and recipient go on. First of all, they have to agree to our terms of use. They don't have any transmittable diseases. They're going to be open and honest, be as safe as humanly possible. And then you create an account like, this is my lifestyle, this is my diet, these are the allergies I
Yes.
have, I take prescription medication, do you drink alcohol? Um, I ask donors when they onboard, if a recipient asks to see any recent medical work you have, are you willing to share that? We never upload that to the app, of course, because of HIPAA, but we do put a little medical icon on their badge. And so recipients know, hey, this is one more thing I can ask of this
Yeah.
donor. Donors, the app is totally free for donors all the time. Recipients can go on and create an account, see who is in their neighborhood, and they never have to pay. I have a $9.99 a month subscription fee, which I waive if they're WIC or SNAP eligible, but you never have to pay that until you find people in your neighborhood you want to message and match with.
Wow. Okay, that is, and I saw all the app filters like location, age, allergies, any food sensitivities, lifestyle. So you've already, kind of thought of some of the main things, and I'm sure that is so helpful for people that are interested in this, because I know people have their reservations in some way about it. So this helps to just remove a barrier. And then you kind of talked about this, if the person is willing to share any health records, then they can discuss that you have the results badge. So anyone here that's, some of this stuff, or you're listening to this later after it's been saved, and finger and toes crossed as Instagram is going to Instagram and save this, definitely go to their FAQs. Like literally was able to answer so much stuff about what you're doing by your FAQs. And that's not always the case everywhere. So it was so informative, so helpful to kind of just come up with what I want to discuss today. So can you also just kind of discuss, like, if someone is having concerns, like what is your reporting process? I know you can't police what's happening. We're talking about informal milk donation, but I know you kind of talked about like that they can report any concerns to you. So what does that look
So
like?
there is a report button on the app. You can hit the report button, that comes straight to me. You can tell me anything you're concerned about. And then I'm able on the admin side to go back and look at profiles and talk to people and reach out.
Good. Good.
So I do that on a regular basis with people, donors charging for milk.
Uh,
So I vehemently appreciate, respect how much time and effort it takes to pump and store and then donate milk, but we do not allow donors to be paid for their milk. I think that that just opens up the door to all sorts of fraudulent behavior. People could water down breast milk, regular milk, anything, and give it to babies, and this is when babies
Mhm.
get sick. So I do ask people, if someone is on there and asking you to pay for them for milk, please report that to
Good.
me. I That comes literally directly to me instantly, and I respond to all of those. Luckily, we've had very, very few, which
Good.
makes me proud.
I mean, when you have your boundaries, that's what they're called. You have your boundaries. So, working with your, your app, that's amazing. But you mentioned no, like the money exchange, but what are there boundaries or things about pump parts, um, bag? Like, is it completely like only the milk exchange? Or I'm just curious, like, because that just came up when you mentioned no money, but sometimes people do, and if someone does it out the kindness of their heart, but what's the, with bags or any pump parts and
Right.
stuff replacement?
Right. So the subscription fee is basically our admin fee. It helps me keep the app
Okay.
going. I do tell recipients all the time, if you find a trusted donor and someone who's giving you milk on a regular
Yeah.
basis, absolutely offer to replenish her storage bags. Like that just makes sense. If you have a surplus from your garden and you just like, here, that's great, but no money is ever
Great.
exchanged. I
That is amazing.
I think that's one of the best ways to keep it
I
safe.
love it. And that's the other thing, like as I've have clients of all sorts. I don't do anything myself of like helping people exchange milk or whatever, but I've had clients that have had to go into chemo, had to have different surgeries, brain surgeries, foot surgeries, ACL surgery. I mean, I can keep, so some of like what that's what I tell people, like, just because we started a journey a certain way, like you may the roller coaster is real. I've had families that their children like are so allergic to so much stuff that like, and then they find that donor, but then, sometimes it's, what I like about this is that if something happens where, because I do meet clients that do donate and then they're like, I'm getting tired, I'm ready to start weaning, but then that guilt that comes of like, I'm gonna have, because you kind of feel like you're feeding two babies, or more than whatever it is, right? I have families that donate to 11 people, but when they're ready to slow down, having this as a resource to not, to have some cleaner exchanges, to some of the other things, it's helpful so they don't feel so, it's already hard anyway to make that decision, but that's another way.
Right.
As well as, I just want to ask, like, you kind of touched on it a little bit at first, but like when you thought of this platform, who is your ideal target client? Like, if someone is like, if you had to think of like who you typically attract, and I'm not talking to like the demographics, I just mean like this type of person or that type of person, like someone that's having like some type of chemo or different surgery that may inhibit. But are there other common stories that you hear from your client base, that, or customer base, that just a common thing, so people can start to relate? Like, some people already feel bad that they may not be making enough milk, so hearing those commonalities of like, I'm having to have this surgery, and people start bonding with, in some women, like they didn't do well on the first journey, now they have an overage, like they're already giving back. It's just, I can keep, I don't want to answer it for you, but just wanted to like spark some of that
Yeah.
conversation.
I have had moms who have had to use donor milk in the hospital when they had a baby in the NICU, who the second or third time they had a baby had an oversupply, and it was very meaningful for them to give back. I've had women who have lost babies very far along in their journey and have chosen to pump and donate to honor that soul, that life that they lost. I think
Oh,
that's beautiful. I have had a lot of women reach out and say, hey, my sister had breast cancer and I helped feed her baby. Or, I want to give back because I understand the value of
yeah.
community. And then, for me, a lot of it is like people who don't actually have access to milk. So, breast cancer survivors, same sex couples, people who use a surrogate and don't have access. I have a couple of friends right now who are fostering a family member, an infant, and they're like, hey, can we get breast milk? So it's really anyone who feels like this is what they want to feed their infant, but can't produce enough or any for themselves.
I love that mission. Like, I literally have chills, like just thinking of all the ways that that connection starts to take. So, did you say you've been? Is it been formally a website or app since 2022?
Yes, we started in 2022 and released the first version.
Okay.
And then the very long story dealing with Apple, they have very much said this is not something we condone, despite
Okay.
despite the fact that they do have an app on there. on their store that does the same thing, but they do pay donors for milk. I just put that down and I was like, let me build a web version. And so I reinvested, built a web app, which actually makes me more inclusive. You don't have to have a
Yeah.
smartphone. You can use public library and connect with people. And so and I don't have to give Apple 30% of my revenue, which I can keep the business going.
Yeah.
So it was just like, how do you pivot when someone says, nope, we're not going to do this? And so rebranding and getting everything up since our first launch has been
Yeah.
a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I'm tell the community like I asked some pre questions just to give her something to think about so we can flow and go through this. But I do I have a separate question that I didn't ask that just came up, and I know I can tell my people when I'm like talking, they can move on the fly.
Yeah.
Um, what keeps you going? Like when you get those like moments that are big hits and I all of that. And I heard you say you even you 2017. Like what keeps you going when those things happen?
I believe that I was just born to work with women and sit by them and support them. It's what I've done. It's what I do as a doula. It's what I do when I teach. I don't know what else to do, and so leaving the world of therapy and getting to really understand my clients and become friends with them and see their changing needs. All of my best friends have had babies. I've been there. I've helped them through these things. I just don't know what else to do. So I don't know what keeps me going other than I think that community is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like I owned this studio for a decade, and sir, I can teach pre and postnatal yoga in my sleep. It wasn't that, it was the support and the moms who met on their mats and then started having coffee after and now are raising babies together. Like I'm just a big believer if you don't communicate, if you don't are not involved in your community, like what are you doing? And so this was just a logical step for me. When I got diagnosed with breast cancer, if I was living a different life, I would have been very private about that.
Hmm.
But all of my friends and coworkers were like, "You talk to women all day long about the power of their bodies and embracing their scars and coming back and finding strength." And so I was like, "Well, I have to do this." And so a big part of Share the Drop is community. I don't want people to have to go through the time and expense to ship milk. But I want you to actually like meet someone in your own community, and then you're like, "Oh, Diana, did you have a doula? Where is your child going to preschool?" And start building those little armies of parental support because we just don't live in community with our aunties and grannies anymore, right? We're very transient, especially after the pandemic. Like the more you can get out and help your neighbor,
Yeah.
the better.
Yeah. So what's next for Share the Drop? I saw like I've been following your page. I was seeing all the you're getting the word out. So what's the ideal timeline? Like what does that look? As we know, like I've said it before, like getting that feature, getting that thing that just helps to like spread the word. Like that's what an entrepreneur would dream of, right? So
Yes.
what's your ideal people that you want to target? Or like I know I have a lot of doulas or other birth workers on my platform. Like who are what will help you to sustain and help you to get your message out as well?
Doulas, lactation consultants, anyone working with a postpartum family.
Great.
Pelvic floor specialists, mental health therapists. I mean, I get a lot of local referrals from therapists that I've worked with that said, this mom is really struggling with anxiety all because she can't feed her baby the way she thinks she should.
Yes.
There are enough times in life where we struggle and we're alone and we need help. The postpartum period just needs to be more supportive for all families. Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. So, is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else you want to let us know? How to find? We know you have to share the drop, but of course, tell us again how to find you. Like anything else? Like I just wanted to I wanted this as a stationary post on my platform because I've partnered with Formal Milk, but everything isn't for everyone. If that makes
Yep.
sense,
Yep.
like not on all kinds of sides. So I don't have a preference in what people do. But I saw your mission, and I was like, I like when I align with someone with their goals because some people get treated like oversupply is the end of the world. But if you're not gonna donate it formally or informally, some keep it for their children. But we can't keep the world turning and going with this
Yes.
type of thing unless somebody makes some more milk than that. So,
Yes.
tell us anything else you would like to add or want us to know.
Um, So I am not, this is a national platform. However, we're not in every community. So if
Yes.
you go on and create an account and you can't find people, keep going back because people join every day.
Yes.
We have on the feed right now, it's everyone who's ever created an account. And by tomorrow, I think we're going to go live with an active button. So if a recipient does go on and look for people in her feed, they'll have a green active button that says they've been on the app in the last 6 weeks. So then you're not spending your time going through messaging every single
Okay.
person. But I really just need to get the word out. And so you can go to sharethedrop.com. You can create an account right there. You can email me. It's kelly@sharethedrop.com. I am open to any feedback, any ideas. I have very thick skin. I believe in communication, right? And so if you go
Yes.
on and you have an idea or you're like, hey, this didn't work, talk to me, let me
Yeah.
know. And share it far and wide. I mean, the only way this really works is if people know that it's an option.
Yeah.
I saw a comment on here about is the milk tested at a facility. So this is not formal process. This is peer to peer. I talk about kind of like date your donor. Ask, do you have one of the reasons I wanted it to be so hyper local is so I can say like, hey, do we have any mutual friends? Because that's that referral, vetting your neighbor, right? But I just think like talk, ask all the important questions you need to. One of my advisors is a neonatologist here at UVA, and he said to me, the questions you should ask before you take someone's milk are the same questions you should ask before you sleep with them. It is about making healthy decisions for what works best for you. And that might not work best for your neighbor, but ask all the questions you have, get to know your donor, build community. And then if it works for you, post about it, share it, like our page, and let everyone know because it's really just me, this little guinea pig over here doing this by
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And so when people like you want to talk, I'm thrilled because it's just the more we talk about options for families, the better.
Well, I'm upset. Like sometimes, like people, I'm not, people follow me all the time, and I don't get a chance to go through it to see. And I'm just like, I want to know what like I can do to be more like. Some people will message me, you know what I'm saying? But I was like, I didn't even know until someone mentioned you, and then I learned about another pages like that was helping families with this microplastic thing, and I'm like, why don't I know about this so I
Yeah.
can like start to do my
Yeah.
part? So no, I'm just glad our paths crossed. And I'm just, what other platforms are you on other than Instagram?
Facebook,
Okay.
LinkedIn, TikTok.
Those,
So,
those are
yep,
main ones.
yep,
Perfect. Okay. I just wanted to let people know. And if there's anything that I can do to help, because like, we align like our ideal client base on either end, maybe not making enough milk, maybe making way more than enough milk. And, I never convince anyone to do anything, but I just, when they do want to donate, I didn't know that you existed. So now that I
yeah.
do, I'm definitely glad to have this resource. So is there a way, one other question, is there a way when someone is no longer donating milk to like inactivate their
Yep.
profile or like remove it? So then, like you said, you'll know.
Yep, they go right onto the app. They click their profile, and the upper right hand corner of the settings, it'll just open up, and you can delete your account there.
Perfect, perfect. So, I, anything else you want to let us? I mean, I love your mission. I really do love your mission. I'm so thankful to have you on to share your story because I knew it was going to be something. I was like, people don't do this type of
Yeah,
work unless it is ingrained in
yeah,
them with a much deeper purpose. So thank you for that and honoring that calling wherever, however that hits you. Just thankful to have another resource. Like I don't even look at things as competition. It's like so many people in the world. So this is another avenue that can help to just further this movement along. So thank you for your time. Please
yeah.
go follow, share the drop. They're on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, of course. But I just so thankful to have you on today. So just wanted you to leave anything else you want to add or anything you want to share.
Well, I'll tell you, people find this very interesting. I don't have kids. I never even once considered it. Somehow I'm in this world of like, I am obsessed with pregnancy and birth. But, like if you have a really good idea that you are so passionate about, you can't stop thinking about it, you could talk about imposter syndrome all day, right? But it doesn't stop me. I'm like, this is what I believe in. And so if you have a great idea, share it with the world. Like, hey, I'm going to put everything I have in this because it can make a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not an expert on breastfeeding. I've never done it. But I'm just vehemently passionate about having a solution for parents.
Yeah, and if people can't see that reeking through who you are, then that's their
Yeah.
loss. I tell people all the time, I don't try to prove anything to anyone. It's just ingrained to just really help the world do whatever their goals is in this postpartum space. And
Yep.
so I'm thankful to have another person
Yep.
to know about. I don't intend this like this may not have to be our last live at all, but I do intend to find out how I can help just continue to service and help in whatever mission that you have, because I really, really, really love what you are doing.
Thank you so much.
You're
And thanks for
welcome.
talking to me.
You're welcome. You have a wonderful, and I do mean wonderful afternoon. And I look forward to seeing you around in these Instagram streets.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.